In the town of Ravenswood, nestled between ancient forests and rolling hills, there stood an abandoned circus that had long been forgotten by time. The once vibrant tents were now tattered and weathered, the laughter of children replaced by an eerie silence that seemed to hang in the air. Legend spoke of a clown who had performed in the circus decades ago, a performer known as Smilo. His painted smile was said to hide a malevolent secret, and his tricks were more sinister than they appeared. It was said that those who gazed into his eyes would be trapped in a world of endless nightmares, unable to escape his terrifying grasp. One stormy night, a group of curious teenagers decided to explore the old circus grounds, fueled by a mixture of excitement and fear. As they ventured into the darkness, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Their flashlights flickered as they navigated the twisted paths of the circus, the sound of their footsteps echoing like a haunting melody. Suddenly, a soft, chilling laughter drifted through the air. Heartbeats quickened, and the group huddled closer together, their eyes darting around in search of the source. The laughter grew louder, more distinct, and then, emerging from the shadows, they saw him, Smilo the clown. His face was painted in grotesque colors, the red of his lips contrasting starkly with the white of his face. His eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, captivating and yet terrifying. The group tried to back away, but an invisible force seemed to hold them in place, their limbs heavy as if encased in cement. "Welcome to my circus," Smilo's voice whispered like a sinister melody, sending shivers down their spines. "Would you like to see a trick?" He held out a deck of cards, each one depicting a horrifying scene, twisted creatures, tortured souls, and unimaginable horrors. As he shuffled the deck, the teenagers exchanged fearful glances, realizing that they were trapped in his nightmarish game. With a flourish, Smilo drew a card and revealed a scene that seemed to come alive around them. The ground trembled, and the circus tent stretched upward to impossible heights, the sky darkening as if it were midnight. One by one, the horrors from the cards began to materialize. Ghastly creatures with hollow eyes and elongated limbs emerged from the shadows, their whispers filling the air with a cacophony of dread. The teenagers screamed, their voices drowned by the nightmarish symphony that surrounded them. Desperation fueled their attempts to escape, but no matter how fast they ran, they found themselves trapped within the ever-changing maze of the circus. Each turn led them deeper into the nightmare, and as exhaustion set in, they began to lose hope. Days turned into nights, and reality blurred with the surreal as the teenagers' minds slowly unraveled. Smilo's laughter echoed in their ears, a constant reminder of their tormentor. The boundaries between dreams and reality shattered, leaving them in a perpetual state of fear. But one fateful night, as the moon cast an ethereal glow upon the circus, a glimmer of hope emerged. A forgotten carousel stood in the center of the grounds, its lights flickering to life as a chilling wind swept through. With a surge of determination, the teenagers realized that the key to their escape lay within the heart of the carousel. Gathering their last reserves of strength, they raced toward the carousel, their hands trembling as they reached out to grasp its worn handles. The ground shook, the nightmares closing in, but with a final, desperate push, they managed to turn the carousel. The world around them twisted and contorted, the horrors dissipating like smoke in the wind. As the first rays of dawn broke through the darkness, the circus grounds returned to their abandoned state, the echo of Smilo's laughter fading into the distance. The teenagers stood gasping for breath, their bodies weary and minds scarred by the terrors they had endured. They knew they had escaped, but the memories of the clown and his malevolent circus would forever haunt their dreams. And so, as the sun rose over Ravenswood, the town remained blissfully unaware of the horrors that lurked just beyond their perception, waiting to ensnare any who dared to tread too close to the abandoned circus of nightmares. In a small, forgotten town named Hollowbrook, there was a legend whispered in hushed tones by the locals. They spoke of a sinister figure that appeared only on the darkest of nights, when the moon was hidden behind thick clouds and the wind howled like a tormented soul. This figure was known as the Hollow Clown. The story began decades ago, when a traveling circus had come to town. Among its performers was a clown named Barnaby, known for his unsettling appearance and eerie grin. Children were both fascinated and terrified by his presence, and rumors spread that his painted smile never left his face, not even when he slept. Barnaby reveled in the attention, basking in the unease he caused. As the circus packed up to leave, a series of mysterious and horrifying events began to unfold. Children started disappearing without a trace, leaving behind only whispers of laughter echoing in the wind. Panic spread like wildfire through the town, and it wasn't long before the blame fell upon Barnaby the clown. Desperate to prove his innocence, Barnaby confronted the town's angry mob, tears streaming down his face. He swore that he had nothing to do with the disappearances, that he was merely an entertainer. But the town was consumed by fear, and justice was swift and brutal. They captured Barnaby, tied him to a stake, and set him ablaze, his haunting laughter mixing with the crackling flames. As the flames consumed his body, an eerie transformation occurred. His laughter twisted into a haunting melody, a mournful tune that seemed to seep into the very ground of Hollowbrook. The earth itself seemed to absorb his malevolent spirit, and a darkness settled over the town that never lifted. Years passed, and the legend of the Hollow Clown was born. Locals claimed that on moonless nights, they could hear his melancholic laughter echoing through the streets. Those who dared venture into the forest claimed to catch glimpses of his ghostly figure, a twisted and distorted version of the clown he once was. One fateful night, a group of curious teenagers decided to test the legend for themselves. Armed with flashlights and trembling nerves, they ventured into the heart of the forest. The wind whispered chilling warnings, and the temperature dropped as they delved deeper. Suddenly, the forest fell silent, and a piercing cackle shattered the stillness. Panicked, they swung their flashlights around, revealing a figure that seemed to materialize from the darkness itself. It was the Hollow Clown, his face painted in grotesque colors, his eyes empty voids. Frozen in terror, the group watched as he raised a hand, his fingers elongating into twisted claws. His laugh, a haunting mixture of mirth and pain, echoed through the night. One by one, the teenagers disappeared into the darkness, their terrified screams blending with the mournful laughter of the clown. Only one managed to escape, fleeing back to the town with wild eyes and a tale of unspeakable horror. The legend of the Hollow Clown had claimed new victims, and its dark grip on Hollowbrook tightened. To this day, Hollowbrook stands as a ghost town, consumed by the malevolent presence of the Hollow Clown. The legend lives on, a cautionary tale whispered by parents to their children. And on moonless nights, when the wind howls and the darkness prevails, those brave enough to listen can still hear the haunting laughter of the Hollow Clown, a chilling reminder that some legends are born from the depths of darkness itself. In the quiet town of Hollowbrook, a sense of unease hung heavy in the air whenever the sun dipped below the horizon. It was said that the old abandoned circus on the outskirts of town held a dark secret, whispered about in hushed tones by those brave enough to speak its name. Legend had it that a clown, known as Smiles, had once been the star of the circus, bringing laughter and joy to children and adults alike. But something had gone terribly wrong one fateful night. The circus was in town, and the crowds had gathered to witness the grand spectacle. As Smiles took the stage, a sense of anticipation gripped the audience. However, as he performed his routine, a sudden chill spread through the tent. The once cheerful music turned eerie, and Smiles' painted smile seemed to stretch wider, taking on a sinister, unnatural curve. His eyes, once bright and merry, turned hollow and malevolent. The crowd's laughter faltered, replaced by uneasy murmurs. As Smiles continued to perform, his movements became jerky and disjointed, as if he were a puppet controlled by unseen hands. Panic began to swell among the audience as they realized that Smiles was no longer in control of his own actions. Children cried, and parents clutched their loved ones tightly, desperate to escape the growing terror that filled the tent. In an instant, the lights flickered and went out, plunging the tent into darkness. The only sound that could be heard was the sound of ragged breathing and soft footsteps echoing in the blackness. When the lights returned, the audience gasped in horror. Smiles was gone, but his painted grin remained, hovering in the air where he had stood. People fled the circus grounds that night, vowing never to speak of what they had witnessed. But the stories spread, and the legend of Smiles the Clown grew. Over the years, tales of strange occurrences, disappearances, and eerie sightings became synonymous with the old circus. Those who dared venture into the abandoned circus reported hearing faint laughter echoing through the empty tents, and some claimed to have glimpsed a figure in a tattered clown costume lurking in the shadows. The mere mention of Smiles was enough to send a shiver down the spine of even the bravest souls in Hollowbrook. One stormy night, a group of curious teenagers decided to test their courage and explore the cursed circus. Armed with flashlights and trembling nerves, they ventured into the darkness, unaware of the horrors that awaited them. As they ventured deeper, the air grew colder, and their flashlights flickered ominously. Suddenly, a soft, chilling laughter filled the air, causing the teenagers to freeze in their tracks. The laughter seemed to come from all directions, surrounding them. Their flashlights began to dim, one by one, until they were left in near darkness. Panicked whispers filled the air as the group struggled to find a way out. Then, a dim, otherworldly glow illuminated the space before them, revealing the figure of a clown standing just a few feet away. His costume was faded and tattered, and his face was painted in a grotesque grin that seemed to stretch impossibly wide. The teens screamed and stumbled backward, their fear palpable. The clown's laughter grew louder and more manic, echoing through the abandoned tents. The group scattered, desperately trying to find an exit, but the circus seemed to shift and twist, leading them in circles. One by one, they vanished into the darkness, leaving behind only the chilling echoes of their terrified screams. The next morning, the police arrived at the old circus, responding to reports of missing teenagers. They combed through the eerie landscape, their flashlights cutting through the morning mist. But there was no sign of the group, only the abandoned tents and the lingering sense of malevolence that hung in the air. To this day, the legend of Smiles the Clown continues to haunt the town of Hollowbrook. The abandoned circus remains a place of dread, its darkness feeding on the fear it inspires. And on certain nights, when the wind howls through the forgotten tents, a faint, chilling laughter can be heard, a reminder that some terrors never truly fade away.